Howdy folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you for stopping by for a little visit. Have some, I think, good content today, but I don't want to brag. I think it's something that we need to start seriously talking about. We talk about it all the time in these videos, about how we need to come together and build community. But we need to start talking seriously about how to do it, and about ways that we can make these connections now before it's too late. Because I don't know, there's some really crazy stuff going on. You all know about it. We're not going to get into it at this moment, but I think that we're down to crunch time. And I get this question all the time. I get emails every day now on how to connect with people, where to move to, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get into that here in a little bit. Before we do, I want to mention a book that I am talking to you about recently, and I think it's a really good one. I don't ever share or promote any item that I don't either use myself or fully approve of. I would never try to push something to you that is just junk. So I want to talk to you quickly about the Complete Medicinal Herbal, Practical Guide to Healing Properties of Herbs. A lot of you are always asking me about herbal medicine, what's a good book, and there's hundreds out there that are great. But I think this is a really good one, especially a starter book. There's a lot of information here, how to make ointments, how to use essential oils, make tinctures, syrups, inhalants, compresses, teas. It has over 100 different plants locally, and plants you would find abroad, like you would find at a health food store or something like that. It lists about the properties of the plant, what parts you would use, how to use them, all very, very good information. It mixes both, really not just both, but all the different types of traditional herbal medicines from India, China, Japan, Native American, even during the Middle Ages. And then in the back it has 250 different types of treatments for different symptoms and things that you might have, tonsillitis, colds and flus. It also breaks it down for feminine type issues, and then children's issues. It's a really good book. It tells you how to make the stuff. It's not going to make you a master herbalist, but it's certainly going to get you on the way. You need to get this book and you need to read it. Don't just set it aside and then wait for the apocalypse to happen and then you decide, oh, I need to learn about how to use herbs. This is something you need, because there may come a day that you can't get the medicines that you need, and even if that day never comes, there are a lot of things that you can treat at home with the plants that grow around you, and you don't have to use the pharmaceuticals, the money, the risks involved in using those. We use a lot of natural medicines right here on the farm with our kids. So there's my plug. All right, on to, I never remember to bring anything to set that on, so I toss it on the ground, and now the turkeys are going to come over here and I'm going to have to shoo them away from pecking at it. Anyways, we need to talk about community. We need to get serious about it. I am getting emails and messages and text messages and messages on Facebook. Every way that someone can get in contact with me, I'm getting it. And it becomes overwhelming at times, and I get backlogged, so bear with me on trying to keep up, because I'm running a homestead and have family, and I'm trying to build a house and all that kind of stuff. Get out of here, turkey. They like my book. Hold on a second. Let me move it out of the way. Maybe that'll keep them away from it. But, I get questions of and I'm just giving you examples. I'm a, single senior citizen woman, and I don't know, I want to be prepared, and I'm doing the best I can, but I don't have, connections around me. I don't have like-minded people. My kids, they're not into it. I don't have anyone around me. How do I do that? Where do I make connections? Or people will say, we're trying to move. We want to move to where, the area that you live in, the Ozarks, or we want to move to this area or that area. and we're trying to find the best place to go, and then we're trying to meet people, because we're trying to get out of the city, we're trying to get to a safer area. And how do we do that? Do you know anyone in this area? I had someone just a few days ago. I believe she was a single mother. Sometimes they get all blurred, but I believe it was a single mother, and she's like, I'm moving to this part of the country, and do you just happen to know anyone, maybe any of your listeners that live in that part of the country that I could connect with so that we could start building relationships? We need to figure out a plan for that. And I hate to disappoint you a little bit if you've started watching this video thinking that I have come up with this amazing plan of how to do that. I haven't yet. I've got some ideas. I've been brainstorming. My wife's been brainstorming. And so part of this video is reaching out to you so that we can try to work this out, because I do believe it's important. I believe that we need to, most of us, we're getting our information online. We're learning. We may contact or communicate with some people. Maybe you're in some groups or message boards or whatever it is. But number one, we may not always have that access. Places like Facebook is seriously cracking down on any kind of freedom-minded groups. So that's not always going to be there. And we just never know what all is going to be there. So we really need to advance this faster, okay? And I know there's some of you that are like lone wolves, or you're like, yeah, me and my family, we got it together. We can survive on our land. We're fine. And maybe you can, and not need a community. But there's some things that you need to think about. Number one, can you protect and defend that community all the time, your property? You got to sleep sometime. If you have to start, if you eventually have to purchase things, you have to resupply. At some point, it's quite likely, and I think this may be one of the first things, actually. I don't think this is something that's going to happen long way off. I think this is one of the faster things that they're going to drop on us, the bombshells, is our money is probably going to lose value, and that's when they're going to unveil this new digital currency, global digital currency. They've been pushing it ever since the whole COVID started. There has been a lot of talk about that. World Economic Forum, of several other kind of globalist conferences have been had to try to develop something that they've been pushing for a long time, which is a global digital currency. When that happens, what are you going to do? You can't go to the store and purchase anything. If you do, if that's what you want, then you're going to have to be part of that system, right? So you're going to have to make a decision. Do you want to be part of that system or not? And if you don't, then your only alternative is to barter with other people. And so that's where a community is very beneficial. There's a lot of benefits, and I'm not going to go into that because I've done that before. I've got videos, and lots of other people have videos. Here's the thing. We got to start meeting and connecting with like-minded people. It doesn't mean that everyone has to be exactly on the same page. It doesn't mean that everyone has to believe the same way. There's definitely some certain criteria that you may have in your life. Maybe you want someone that's a Bible believing. Maybe you're religious, you're Christian, you're Torah observant, whatever you want to call it. And maybe your threshold for that is at a certain level. It doesn't mean that everyone has to believe identical to you. There's people even on other YouTube channels that I don't necessarily see eye to eye with when it comes to spirituality, my faith, but it's close enough that I'm willing to work with them. There's others that I may say, that's too crazy. I'm not into that. So I distance myself. Same thing with how you may raise your children or how you may run your home. There has to be some give and take. That's number one. We have to realize that not everyone is going to be just like us. Number two, and this is something that myself, it was actually another YouTuber talked about this on their Patreon page, and I've talked about it also. We as a Western, modern, American society it's been so long since we have been really in a kind of a communal, tribal type of community that we've forgotten how it works. I believe that human beings are meant to be tribal. That's how we were created to be. If you go back as far as you can in history and the Bible, that's how human beings were. And it wasn't until really very recent modern times that we started to separate ourselves. Yes, we're still around humans, but we don't interact in a tribal community type of situation, right? And so now everyone, no one knows how to act. No one knows how that structure works. No one knows how the hierarchy works, or no one knows that there really doesn't need to be a hierarchy all the time. Most Native American tribes worked very differently than how they show it in Hollywood or how you may think that they worked. Most Native American tribes had no chief on a day-to-day basis. There was no one in charge. Then when there were times to go on hunts or times to defend or go to war or to maybe move the tribe, the elders would come together and they might decide then, they may say, okay, we need we've got this other tribe we're going to go to war with, and so we're going to elect a chief to lead us. And so they would elect someone from the elders. Or maybe to move, we need to elect a chief to guide us to figure out the best place to move to. This was very common in those. Nowadays, no one knows how to lead. No one knows how to follow. No one knows how to work together. And everyone thinks they have to be the boss because everyone already knows everything, right? And so it doesn't work for people. So we have to get through that. We have to figure out how to be tribal again, how to be in a community again. And that's why communes and stuff, a big reason, not the only reason. If you go back in like the 60s and 70s, I actually a few years ago did some research on the hippie communes. Not because I liked them, but I wanted to learn why they failed, what worked and what didn't work, so that someday, if I find myself either creating or being part of a community because of a prepping scenario or because of a, what hit the fan, I would have some idea of how those did not work, why they didn't work, what worked and what didn't. And one of the things is that no one knew how to get along. No one wanted to work. They only wanted to do it their way. And there was a lot of other reasons, but it was because no one knew how to live tribally. So that's a big hurdle, but we've got to do that. Then we also have to be connected. We have to connect, and we have to figure out a way to do that. And we're so dependent. We've become addicted and so hyper dependent on this technology. Yes, this technology that I'm using right now and that you're using to watch me. And we believe that connects us, but in fact, it keeps us apart, right? And so we lose that personal touch. We've lost that, and so we have to figure out how to get past that hurdle. We used to write letters, and then it went to emails, and then it went to text messages, and now it's just on a comment or something. So we have to learn how to communicate. We have to learn new ways to communicate, and secure ways to communicate, because as we all know, this that I'm using to communicate with you is not secure at all. Probably less secure than the old writing on a piece of paper and mailing it to you. And so we have to learn ways. I have numerous ways to get in contact with me. I don't want to be in charge of this, but I am absolutely willing to use my platform, while it's much more limited than a lot of other prepper channels and homestead channels that may have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions. I'm absolutely willing to use the smaller platform that I have to do my part in helping bring people together. And hopefully, maybe along the way, some other bigger channels and websites and stuff would jump in on this. I don't want to be in charge. I don't care about any glory. That's not it. So I'm just trying to figure out what I can do to help you and you and you and you connect. So I have, as much as I don't like a lot of the social media, I have ways you can contact me on most of them. There's a Facebook group that I've set up for this, the Prepared Homestead Facebook group. It's been growing. and people can communicate there. There's not a lot of communication in there, but there's people. It's like people are kind of scared to be the first one to start talking. There needs to be in that group. If I find a piece of property around me, or that I'm driving by, or I see it in some local advertisement or something that I think might be a pretty good piece of property for a good price, I post it in there. I also have a Patreon page that I do the same thing. I post it in there. I have a forum website. It's the old style forums, was it PPH or PHP, whatever it is, I don't remember now. It gets very little activity. I'm hardly ever on there because not very many people are on there, and there's hardly anyone on there because I never promote it. But that is much more secure than Facebook. It's standalone on its own. I own it, and I can definitely create sub-forums in there for each state or each regions in each state. So that is a way to also contact. I've even been in contact with some of my viewers that are talking about, and I've been talking with them, of the possibility in the future of having some sort of underground railroad system in case it were to get that bad that maybe people needed to truly flee the cities. Not like they're doing now, but really flee the cities. And having people along the way in different areas where it would be basically like an underground railroad, where they would know that there would be safe places along the way that they could stop at and maybe, get a little bite to eat and a safe place to sleep. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking to with you folks. You don't all know this, but some of you know this. We've got to get this conversation moving. So this video may not be exactly what you thought it would be, but I'm hoping that you will continue watching it to the end because it's getting close to the end. Let's look at this as the beginning of that conversation. And I will periodically try to make videos talking about this, getting more people on board. If you're wanting to move to the Ozarks, I'm not saying you have to. If you're wanting to move to the Ozarks, I certainly know more about that because, well, that's where I live, and I've lived here a long time. And I do have a few connections with like realtors that are homesteader, prepper realtors that I trust. I can give you their information. I'm not making anything off of it. I know a few places that, can do like, for sale by owner land purchases that I don't make anything off of, but I'll give you the information. And I can do my best to give you advice of which areas are the better to move into and which areas to stay away from. I'm not an expert, but I would certainly do that. I don't charge for that or anything like that. In my area, and at this point, until someone else steps up, I'm going to consider it a pretty broad area. There are some not close to me, but I do know of some like prepper, mag type groups, and I'm doing my best to connect with them and create a network. They don't all have to be under the same leadership, but it doesn't hurt to have a network of them. And that can be replicated in other areas, other states. We have to start building these connections. We have to, and localize it more and more. Another viewer of mine, probably my most dedicated viewer, Dawn and Norma, you're watching this right now, I assure you. I know that you are. He has a good idea also. Maybe you and your family can't purchase a one piece of property, but maybe you can get together with several other families and purchase a property, and there are legal ways that you can go about dividing that so that everyone owns their own little share of it. And that way that you can get property. Maybe you can't come up with $100,000 to buy a piece of property, but maybe 5 of you can come up with $20,000. Or, $50,000 property, 5 of you come up with $10,000, whatever it is. There's ways to do that, and you've got to be able to connect with people. And they're out there because I know they are, because they're contacting me. And I don't have a very big viewership. I mean, I'm almost to 10,000 subscribers, and I'm thankful of that. And I'm very humbled by that. But I look at other channels and other people online, and they're reaching hundreds of thousands of people. So I know if my viewers, my subscribers are just a small percentage of the others out there, there's got to be a lot of people that are wanting this, that they're wanting to figure out ways to connect. Some of you've already figured it out. Some of you have mags and prepper groups, and you have worked out little communities, and that's awesome. And if you've done that, then let us know how you're doing it, okay? Leave your comments in the comments below. This has to be done, folks. I'm working on some videos for Patreon. Maybe I'll put one on there today, and then some more on here. I think things are kind of getting crazy, and the whole, one of the things that's starting to confirm it, that it's gonna get crazy soon, is what's going on. Like the president, this COVID, had it a few days, and now he's cured, and lockdowns, and it doesn't end. So no one shows up to Biden's rallies, but yet he's leading by 15, 20 points, and I mean it's insane. Sometimes I don't even know where to begin. Anyways, I'm wrapping it up. Leave your comments. Let's get the conversation going. I'll leave some links in the description of like that message board if you want to do that, the Facebook group. I'm not getting anything out of that stuff. It's just I'm trying to open the door, create a platform for you to meet others. I will, be there to help you make those connections. I'll lead you to each other as much as possible. I'll do everything I can because it's become a passion of mine, and I think it's something that we have to do if we truly want to survive what we're getting ready to face. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.